Welcome to the session. In this session, I am going to talk about batteries and their characteristics. Batteries. We use different types of batteries in our day-to-day life. These batteries are actually combination of cells. One or more cells are connected in series connection or parallel connection, or sometimes in both connection, in both fashion they are connected. The connected cells, they convert the chemical energy of the chemical energy of the compounds present in the cells into electrical energy through a reaction, a redox reaction, which is a combination of both the oxidation and reduction reactions. These two reactions occur simultaneously in these cells, thereby producing the electrical energy, and we get power, we get electricity. So batteries are the devices which consist of one or more cells connected in series or parallel or in both fashion, which convert the chemical energy by means of an electrochemical redox reaction, depending on their desired output voltage and capacity. So batteries, different batteries, they give different output, and the capacity also may differ, but we use batteries for different applications in our day-to-day life. These batteries, they consist of three major components. They are anode, cathode, and electrolyte. So in the picture, you can see this is anode, this is cathode, and this is the electrolyte. The anode and cathode, they are connected through a wire here, and a load is also applied. Okay, so these are the three main components of batteries. Now we'll discuss about anode. So anode is the negative electrode, and this anode is oxidized during the electrochemical reaction, and it liberates electrons on the external circuit. The general chemical reaction is M used as to Mn plus N electrons. And in the picture you can see this is the anode, and this is oxidized. Anode is oxidized. In other words, we can say oxidation electrochemical reaction occurs at the anode, and electrons are liberated. The electrons are liberated, hence it is given a negative sign. Anode carries a negative sign as electrons are liberated at the anode, and the liberated electrons, they will flow towards the cathode, they will reach the cathode. Okay, so oxidation reaction occurs here. The reaction is generally represented as M gives rise to Mn plus N electrons. Here M indicates the electrode, which is in solid form, and Mn plus indicates ionic form, and N electrons is the number of electrons produced at the anode. And materials, what kind of materials we can use as anode means materials having high efficiency as reducing agent, having high coulombic output, having good conductivity, stability, and ease of fabrication, and low cost as well. So materials having these properties, they are generally preferred as anodic materials. So materials having high reducing efficiency means, so material which can reduce the other compound, which can reduce the other compound better, so that is used as anode, as it can be oxidized well. So a compound which is reducing the other compound, it is oxidizing itself. So we want oxidation to occur at the anode. So materials having high reducing efficiency, they are preferred as anodes, and high coulombic output. Electrons are produced at the anode. So materials which can release electrons easily, they are preferred as anodic materials, and they have high coulombic output. Then another factor is good conductivity. Okay, the material should be a good conductor. It should be stable, and ease of fabrication. So fabrication, if you want to fabricate the anodic material, it should happen easily. So this is another characteristic of better or good anodic material, and low cost. So though material having these properties, I mean reducing high reducing efficiency, high coulombic output, good conductivity, stability, and ease of fabrication. Though it has all these properties, all these characteristics, it should come in low cost. It should be cheaper. So such type of materials are used as best or better anodic materials. Next component is cathode. So it is considered as the positive electrode, and it is reduced during the electrochemical reaction, and it accepts electrons from the external circuit. A general reaction is Mn plus N electrons gives rise to M. Here Mn plus indicates the ionic form of the cathode, and N electrons is the number of electrons it is consuming at the cathode, and M is the solid form of the metal. And you can see this is the cathode, and it is given a positive charge. It is a positive electrode, and electrons coming from the anode, this is the anode, electrons will be produced at the anode, they flow towards the cathode, and here those two electrons are consumed here. So electrons are gained here, and such chemical reaction is called redox reaction. Okay, and you can see the reaction is Mn plus N electrons gives rise to M. So electrons are consumed here, that is a reduction reaction. So what type of materials can be used as cathode means materials having which are having high oxidizing efficiency. So materials which can oxidize the other compounds, they are considered as better cathodes. The reason is that, so materials which can oxidize the other compounds, they can reduce itself. So we want reduction to happen at the cathode. So materials having high oxidizing efficiency, they are preferred to act as cathodes, and the materials must be stable when they are in contact with the electrolyte. And you can see in the picture, this is the cathode, it is in contact with the electrolyte. So when in contact with the electrolyte, the cathode must be stable. Okay, and it should have useful working voltage also. So these are the characteristics for the materials which are preferred for cathodes. Okay, this is the second component, and the third component is electrolyte. You can see in the picture, this is the electrolyte. So in the electrolyte, the first and second component, I mean anode and cathode, are dipped. So electrolyte should actually, its function is providing a medium for transfer of ions inside the cell. Okay, so between the anode and cathode, ions will be transferred. Okay, so here electrolyte, so it provides the medium here. Ions will be transferred from anode to cathode. Okay, this is the function of the electrolyte, and important characteristic of electrolyte is it should have good ionic conductivity. And we are using different batteries in our day-to-day life. Okay, so these batteries, they come in different configurations, they come in different shapes. We have seen cylindrical batteries, we have seen button shaped batteries, and also batteries which are flat. Okay, so they come in different shapes and also in different configurations. Their output will be different, capacity also will be different. So this is about the components of a battery, and we'll move on to the next topic, that is characteristics of a battery. So batteries are specially designed and constructed based on some characteristics. Now let us discuss those characteristics on which batteries are designed. The first one is free energy change. Whenever electrode reactions occur in the presence of active materials in a battery, so we observe free energy decrease. Free energy decrease. This can be represented as minus delta G is equal to NEF. Here, F indicates the Faraday, that is 96,500 coulombs. N indicates the number of electrons involved in the electrode reaction, and E indicates the potential, that is in volts. Okay, so free energy change generally decreases when we are getting a positive EMF. So when we are getting power, when we are getting electricity from a cell, okay, so the free energy decreases. Free energy decreases. That is represented as here minus delta G. and here E is positive, so delta G is negative here. And you can see the picture here. I mean, here E cell is greater than 0. E cell means I mean E naught cell, that is the standard electrode potential. When the standard electrode potential is greater than 0, that is positive, delta G free energy will be negative. Negative free energy indicates free energy decrease. Okay, reaction occurs in forward direction and the reaction is spontaneous. If the standard electrode potential is less than 0 indicates negative EMF. Negative EMF means uh, we are supplying power to the cell. We are not getting power, not getting electricity. Electricity is consumed by the cell. In such case, delta G, free energy is positive. That means free energy is produced. Free energy is produced. The reaction will be in backward direction, and the reactions are spontaneous. As we are supplying power, the reactions are non-spontaneous. Okay. And when delta I mean when electrode potential standard electrode potential is 0, then free energy change is 0, and no reaction occurs. So this is free energy change. And when we are getting power, free energy decreases. When we are supplying power to the battery, to the cell, free energy will be produced, free energy increases. Next characteristic is EMF of a battery. The net voltage or EMF of a battery depends on the total number of cells which constitutes a battery. Say for example, if a battery is made with 4 or 5 cells, okay, its EMF will be high. If it is made with 2 cells, EMF will be low. Okay, so EMF is directly proportional to the number of cells which constitutes the battery. And cell for a cell having overall reaction m1 plus m2n plus reversible m1n plus m2. So consider this as the overall reaction of a cell. For this cell, we can calculate the EMF of the battery. EB stands for EMF of the battery, that is calculated as E naught cell minus 0.0591 by n log m1n plus by m2n plus. Here EB stands for EMF of the battery, E naught cell stands for the standard EMF of the cell, and n is the number of moles of moles, and m1n plus and m2n plus, these are the concentrations of the uh, products and reactants involved in the overall reaction. And EMF of a cell or EMF of a battery depends mainly on three things, three factors. They are: first one, potential difference between the cathode and anode. So in a cell, if the potential difference between the cathode and anode, if that is high, then the EMF of the battery is also high. That is one. Second factor, a ratio of the ionic concentration of M1n plus and M2n plus. M1n plus and M2n plus ratio. If the ratio is high, then the EMF of the battery will be low. Then the third factor is temperature. As the temperature is high, EMF of the battery will be low. Okay, so this is another characteristic. EMF of a battery is another characteristic which is considered while choosing a battery for an application. And next characteristic is amperes or ampere hour. Ampere is the rate of electrons which flow in a wire. So electrons flow in a wire with certain speed, that is considered as the ampere. And 1 ampere is 6.24 into 10 to the power of 18 electrons per second. And this is about ampere. And ampere hour is the uh, 1 ampere of current flowing continuously for 1 hour, that is considered as ampere hour. So ampere hour is another characteristic which is considered while choosing a battery. Next characteristic is capacity. uh, Theoretical capacity of a battery is generally the quantity of electricity involved in an electrochemical reaction. Okay, and the capacity of the battery, that can be defined as the number of ampere hours or watt hours that can be withdrawn from a fully charged cell or fully charged battery under specified conditions of discharge. Okay, so you consider a battery and its capacity means that is the number of ampere hours or watt hours we can draw from the battery. The battery should be fully charged. Okay, so battery is fully charged, and ampere hours, how many ampere hours we can draw from that fully charged cell, that is considered as its capacity. And under a given conditions, under specified conditions, we will draw ampere hours from the fully charged cell, that is its capacity. It is denoted with q. Q is equal to xnf, where x is the number of moles of reaction, n is the number of electrons transferred per mole of reaction, and f is the Faraday's constant. Okay, and mostly we express the capacity not in moles but in terms of mass. So we have the formula, by substituting the number of moles with molecular mass, we get q is equal to nf by mr, where mr is the molecular mass. Next characteristic is power. Power is the product of cell voltage and cell current, that is given by W is equal to cell voltage V into cell current I. We know that from Ohm's law, V is equal to IR. Substituting that one here, we get power W is equal to V square by R. And the energy generated by a battery is given by power into time, that is E is equal to V into I into T. Here I into T is taken as the charge, that is Q. So we get E is equal to QV. Energy is equal to QV, and that is about power. Then power density. Power density is the ratio of power delivered by a cell or battery to its weight. And generally, while using the battery, the power density decreases, and it is calculated as power density is equal to power by mass, and its units are watts per kg. Next, similarly, energy density, another characteristic. Energy density is the energy density of the battery, uh, I mean output, energy output of the battery to its weight. This is calculated as based on weight basis and also on volume basis. Power density is calculated in terms of weight basis, but energy density is calculated based on both weight and volume basis. And so we can write theoretical weight capacity is equal to QV by mass. The units are here watt hours per kg. And similarly, volume capacity, theoretical volume capacity is equal to QV by volume, that is the units are watt hours per liter. And next characteristic is efficiency. Efficiency is the ratio of output of a battery on the discharge to the input required by the battery to restore it to the initial state of charge under specified conditions. It means under specified conditions. So discharge, I mean output of the battery is taken, and input required by the battery, input required by the battery to restore it to its initial state, that is also considered. So the ratio of these two, output delivered by input required by the battery, so that ratio is considered as the efficiency. Efficiency is expressed in three ways. One is volume efficiency, watt hour efficiency, and ampere hour efficiency. Voltage efficiency. Efficiency is expressed in three ways. One is voltage efficiency, watt hour efficiency, and ampere hour efficiency. Voltage efficiency is described as the ratio of average voltage during discharge to the average voltage during recharge under given conditions. Okay, so average voltage during discharge by average voltage during recharge, that ratio is nothing but the voltage efficiency. Similarly, watt hour efficiency is the ratio of watt hours delivered on discharge of the battery, number of watt hours, by number of watt hours required to restore the battery to its original state under given conditions. Okay, that is taken as the watt hour efficiency. And ampere hour efficiency, it is the ratio of output of a secondary battery measured in ampere hours to the input required to restore the battery to its initial state of charge under given conditions. Okay, so that is ampere hour efficiency. And number of ampere hours during discharge, and number of ampere hours required to recharge the battery to its original state under given conditions. That is taken as the ampere hour efficiency. It is also called as a Coulombic efficiency. Next characteristic is cycle life. So for a battery, given battery, the cycle life should be high. Cycle life is the number of years or number of charge or discharge cycles for a battery until it produces 80% of its rated ampere hour capacity. Okay, so this is generally for cycle life is considered for rechargeable batteries. We use battery by charging and discharging. Okay, so number of discharge cycles, charge or discharge cycles, or number of years until it produces 80% of its rated ampere capacity, ampere hour capacity, that is considered as its cycle life. For a for an ideal battery, the cycle life should be high. Next one is shelf life, another characteristic to be considered while purchasing a battery. Shelf life is the duration of storage under given conditions or specified conditions, at the end of which the battery still retains the ability to give a specified performance. Okay, so unused battery, if it is kept unused under given conditions. Okay, so how much period of time it can retain its ability to give its specified performance, that storage period of time, that is considered as shelf life. For example, for a dry cell, generally condition here is specified condition is 21 degrees C. At 21 degrees C, okay, so if it is stored without using, it should produce 90%. It should have 90% of its original energy content after the shelf life. So if a dry cell, if a dry cell, if it is stored for 6 months, 6 months. After 6 months, if it is having 90% of its original energy content, then the that 6 months, that is considered as its shelf life. Next characteristic is tolerance to service conditions. So the function of a battery is it should provide power continuously, intermittently, at an irregular rate. Okay, continuously, seamlessly, without any fluctuations. It should provide power. Okay, so it should perform that duty even under some worse conditions also, adverse conditions also, adverse conditions like misuse. Okay, so even if it is misused, it should perform its duty. Then occasional shorting, vibration, when the battery is subjected to vibration or shock, it should be in a position to tolerate these conditions, and it should provide power continuously. So so these are the characteristics of a battery to be considered while choosing a battery for an application. Thank you.